Let's bring in our panel to discuss. Kristen Holmes on the campaign trail. First to you. Trump spent the day in South Carolina. Why is he focusing on that state?
Well, look, he wants to be spending some time in these early voting states. We didn't see him out on the campaign trail, Pamela, for several weeks. Now, they do believe that he has a comfortable lead. We've seen that in the national polls and in these early voting states. But they're also looking at some of the polling where these conservatives are saying that, while, yes, they support former President Trump, they are open to an alternative. So they are pounding the pavement, visiting Iowa, New Hampshire in the next couple of weeks, South Carolina on multiple occasions, really trying to shore up that support and in some ways rally the troops. Now, the other big thing this week I do want to point out is that trip to Michigan. I know we've been talking about that. That is his team actually moving beyond this primary, starting to look at that general election, trying to essentially try and grab these working class voters that they believe they can siphon off from the Democratic Party. But in order to do that, they do still have to win the primary. And they are very focused on making sure that they do that. Pamela.
And we're going to talk a little bit more on that Michigan trip later on because President Biden also going there the day before. Alice, Trump is now ramping up his campaign stops, but he's also skipping the second GOP presidential debate. The nomination is his to lose, according to the polling. How crucial is it that someone emerges as a strong contender in this debate, and what would that look like?
It's imperative that someone do so, and I think we're going to see that in their debate strategy, how they're planning to go into this debate. I've spoken with all the candidates that will be on the stage, and the big word we're going to see is contrast. They're going to use this as a chance to show a contrast between themselves and the other candidates on the stage, but also Donald Trump. They looked at the first debate as a way to introduce themselves to the national stage. Now's the time to really take the gloves off and show why they are a better leader, why they are better to win not just the primary, but the general election. And we're going to see some jabs at Donald Trump and at those on the stage. Some have said that it's time to stop tiptoeing around Donald Trump because it's clearly not working. This sit back and be nice strategy is not working. They're going to find a way where they can lob these attacks or contrasts on Donald Trump without alienating the base. And I do believe, based on what they're saying, that's the plan for really trying to bridge the gap between them and Donald Trump.
Bakari, I'm going to go back to South Carolina, your home state. You know, Donald Trump is encroaching on the territory of former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. What's the significance of his visit there today? Would love to hear your perspective.
And Tim Scott.
And Tim Scott, that's right. Can't forget about him.
Yeah, don't forget about Tim. No, I think that in South Carolina, if you ask anyone right now, that Donald Trump will win the South Carolina primary going away. The question is who comes in second and third. For a long period of time, people thought Ron DeSantis would be second, but he's the closest thing to Icarus we've seen running a presidential campaign in a long time. And so I think that Nikki Haley has an opportunity here to run a strong second, or Tim Scott to run a strong second. But let me just point out something that we've seen in the polling recently, which has jumped out to me and many people who are murmuring around the state of South Carolina. In head-to-head matchups, the person who consistently performs better against Joe Biden is not Donald Trump, it's not Ron DeSantis, it actually is Nikki Haley. I think the Trump campaign sees that, and if that continues to go, she may be seen as that viable option. Nikki has one problem, though, which is that she is a fence sitter. She's somewhat adiaphorous in that she wants Trump to love her and then wants to replace him at the same time. And so she doesn't do a good job in these debates building that contrast. The question is, will she separate herself from Donald Trump and MAGA enough to show that she can be an alternative, or is she just going to continue to stand in the shadow? I mean, that's her question.
She seemed to be going a little bit more on the ledge in her recent speech in terms of going after Donald Trump and so forth. So we'll have to see in the debate how she plays it. But Kristen, I want to go back to the South Carolina trip today and this firearms store that Trump toured. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, Pamela, it's kind of a bizarre sequence of events. He had an off-the-record stop, which essentially means nobody knows about it until he arrives there. And it was at this Palmetto Armory, which is a firearms store. He looked at several different guns. One in particular was a Glock handgun that was a custom-made handgun that had a picture of him on it. It said 45 for the 45th president. And he was with Marjorie Taylor Greene. He said, "Oh, I want one of these." Then his spokesperson tweeted out that he had bought a Glock. Well, this, of course, sparked a lot of questions about the legality of that, given the fact that he has at least 2 federal indictments and is under 4 indictments total. Was that actually legal for him to be purchasing a firearm in South Carolina? Then the spokesperson deleted the tweet and clarified, or at least confirmed or said or changed his tune, essentially saying that he did not buy a firearm. He just said that he wanted to buy a firearm. But again, this kind of sparked a lot of questions about this and really brought Trump's legal problems into this South Carolina political rally today, all around the kind of assumption and this tweet that he had actually purchased a firearm.
Yeah, quite the turn of events with that visit today. All right, thank you all so much.